My name is Lou, and today I'm going to clean both sides of a double hung window, so the whole double hung window from the inside. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm here on the top floor of a two-story townhouse, and below this window there is a pergola, and for me to try and clean the outside of this window from the outside would be quite a bit of trouble. I'd have to stick some planks on the pergola and probably a ladder on top of that as well. So there is a way to clean this window, the outside of it, from the inside, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Now, first thing is just explaining, what I mean by a double hung window. If you don't know, as you can see, there are two sections. And the top section comes down. The top section comes down. The bottom section comes up. Now, double hung windows are distinct from single hung windows. Single hung windows are ones where the top section is fixed and only the bottom bit comes down. If this was a single hung window, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm going to do. You're much more constrained with a single hung window, and if you're trying to clean the outside from the inside, well, you can do some of it, maybe half of it, but not the whole window, whereas I'll be able to clean the whole of this window. I've already cleaned the one over there, and that's come up beautifully. These are, this is very dirty. That one was very dirty. And this one very soon will be just as clean as that one. So another thing to point about this window, which isn't always the case with the double hungs, is that you can pull the top section down below, with difficulty sometimes, but down below the bottom section. So that's going to come in handy. All right, well, I'm going to start with, the outside, cleaning the outside, and the order in which it's very important you do this in a certain order. And I'll just move this curtain a little bit out of the way so it's not distracting in any way. Now, the order in which you do this is because you have to keep in mind that even though, as I say, you can reverse them, they're not designed to be reversed and kept in a reverse position, because you only lock it. You're only able to close the window properly and lock it when it's in the proper position. But what you have to keep in mind is that one of these, when you have them overlapping or facing each other, there is one that is always in front of the other. And this happens to be the case, probably most of these, or all of these. The top section faces out. The bottom section faces in. So the trickier bit is to actually clean the bottom section. So what I'm going to do is pull the top section all the way down, and the bottom section up above it, so they're reversed. And I'm actually going to start by cleaning the top of the bottom section. So it's very important you do the top as much as you can. It makes it easy later on. So I'm going to do that now. This is also a good opportunity to remove any cobwebs that are sort of outside that you're not going to be able to get later on. So get the cobwebs off, because otherwise when the window's clean, all you'll have is a very good view of the cobwebs. So get rid of those when you have the chance. And now I'm going to be reaching down as far as I can and cleaning as much as I can of the top of the bottom section. On this video, I won't go into so much a description of the tools and the method I use, because I've got plenty of videos where I go into that. The purpose of this video is really to show that you can clean the entire double hung window, both sides, from the inside if you need to. I mean, had I been able to go outside, and I was with some of the others, I would have done that. But here it's a lot easier to do it this way. Okay. Okay, now small squeegees come in handy sometimes. It is a bit awkward, but you know, it can be done, and there's no risk of injury or anything. I'm not hanging out the window, which is something that I sometimes do if I'm cleaning a sliding window from the inside or the outside of a sliding window. So here there's no issue of hanging out the window too far. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lower that bottom section. So now they're both facing each other. And now I'm going to reach out and clean as much as I can, and possibly the whole of the outside of the top section. Now I can't seem to reach all the way down with my steel wool, but I have the option, of course, of lifting both of them up a little bit, reaching from the bottom and reaching up to where I couldn't reach from the top. So now I've done that, all I have to do is squeegee. Okay, time to dry the edges. Same deal with drying. I couldn't reach all the way down from the top, so I'm going to lift these up and then reach up from the bottom. Okay, so I've cleaned, as you know, let's recap. I've cleaned the top of the bottom section, the whole of the top section. What remains is the bottom of the bottom section. So to clean that, what I'm going to do is lift the top up to the very top. So the top section goes straight back to where it belongs. And you can see the section of the bottom that I haven't cleaned. Now I've cleaned up to about there, and you can see the water that's dripping down. And so I need to sort of lift that up, give myself enough space to reach out. And because I cleaned a significant enough amount of the top, I can reach out as far as I can reach up to where it's dirty, without having to find myself in a situation where the other window's obstructing me cleaning. Okay, and the squeegee. All right, so now the outside is completely clean, but there is actually something that I kind of left out, which I can leave out, but if you want to just do an extra job, it's something that's worth doing. Now if I pull the top section past the bottom section, on the frame there's actually there's dirt, whatever it is, stains on that bottom section, which I haven't cleaned off. So now's a really good opportunity to clean that. So that's on the frame, not the glass. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I've got my little screwdriver and I've got my wet towel. So together I can get in corners, I can get right in to difficult places and get them clean. Good chance to clean the bottom as well. Okay, so that's done. So what's next is just to clean the inside. So to do that, what I need to do is just put the top at the top. I mean, the only way I can clean the whole of the top is by having it up and the bottom bit down. The bottom bit, because it faces in, it doesn't really matter where it is in relation to the top section when it comes to doing the inside of it. So in other words, the outside, the bottom bit is more difficult to do. The outside of the bottom bit's more difficult, but it's actually easier on the inside. Not that it really matters on the inside. Now it's a piece of cake. that is now very clean. However, there are a few little watermarks on the outside of the top section, so I'm just going to get those out. And for that, what is really handy is you have a dry piece, a small dry piece of steel wool, fine grade steel wool. Keep it in your pocket, just pull it out when you need it. So what I'm going to do now to get to that, pretty sure that's outside. Yep, it's outside. So if I lift that up far enough for me to reach up, let me see. Yep. And it turns out there's also a watermark on the bottom section. Now that's going to be really hard to reach, isn't it? And that's on the outside. So to get that, if I can't reach it like this, I have to reverse the two sashes again. So I'm very close there. Anyway, I was able to reach that. You actually do have to be careful of one thing. If when you're working you don't dry up as much water as you can, when you reverse the sashes, little bits of water, little droplets, can then get back on the window. So it's kind of a nuisance to have to mop them up. It has happened here. So it's pretty insignificant. I mean, it's really insignificant, but you know, I'm trying to show you how it's done. So I will go to the trouble of reversing them again. Oh, that was just on the inside, so there was no need to do that, it turns out. Oh no, what am I saying? It's up here. Okay, so I'm getting that out now. All right, so that's pretty clean now. So all that remains now is to put the screen back in. I took the screen out at the start before I started filming, so you didn't see that bit. I've cleaned it, so all that remains is to put it back in. To do that, oops, sorry, wrong one. So the top bit has to be in its place. So the top bit is at the very top. The bottom bit has to be lifted high enough for me to get the screen out. If I don't lift it high enough, it can be difficult to get the screen out. So that gives me plenty of space. I can tilt the screen. Oh, and by the way, the tricky bit about getting these screens in, the way this screen is attached at the top, differently at the bottom. At the bottom you just have these little, what are called swivel clips. I'll show you one. So swivel clips that will, once it's in place, I'll rotate it to hold it in. But at the top you have these little, one on each side, these bits of plastic that protrude. And they fit into a slot. So it is tricky when you're cleaning these windows from the inside to get them correctly into the slot. So I'll just do that patiently. Okay. It's a little bit to the right. So, you know, oh, beautiful. So that's in. So it's in at the top, it's in at the bottom. All I've got to do now is close the window. And to be fair, I think it's fair to show you the lovely view of the autumn leaves out the window. And then you can appreciate how clean the window is. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on another video.